the more you attack somebody's deeply held belief, the more deeply they believe it. That's terrible. I hate that about a people.
So if I'm a listener, I'm doing the classic thing where I'm sitting down at the Thanksgiving table and Uncle Joe is spouting off some shit that he heard. Like, how do we politely engage in conversation with people, especially people we care about, who are probably not knowingly, but spreading misinformation? And then my second part is, if we want to engage with people online, how do we do that in a smart, respectful way as well?
So the first thing you need to ask yourself about Uncle Joe is this an argument I want to have? Do I want to argue?
Also for trolls on Twitter, yeah.
Because the answer might be no. And you do not have to agree to engage in every fight you're invited to. The answer can be no, thank you. I'm not getting into that fight today. And so if your goal is to, like, I don't want to fight with Joe. Like, I am just here trying to eat pie and take a nap. And so that's right.
Watch some parades, see some balloons, some dog show. The best part. I'll see the dog show.
Yes, you just want to have a nice little Thanksgiving. You can go with the, like, oh, that's fascinating. I'm gonna have to look into that. Or oh wow, I'm gonna have to give that some thought. And then don't give it any thought. And don't look into it. Do you know what I mean? But that makes him feel better.
I'm gonna have to give it some thought.
Immediately no.
Immediately
no. That's the answer. But it makes Joe feel better, and then you don't have to argue about it, right? Like it placates him. But let's say you do want to get into an argument with him. Let's say you do want to ruin Thanksgiving. That is your goal.
Well, I think weirdly there's a lot of talk, especially after like 2020 with trying to be anti-racist. I know I've heard this from so many people. It's like, in order to be anti-racist, it's all of these things. It's voting, it's protesting, it's donating, it's discovering, and working through your own anti-racism. It's also calling family members on the bullshit. Like, that's your responsibility. And so I, for a long time, especially the last 2 years, like, have caused a lot of family fights. And I've tried to figure out, like, which ones are worth quote unquote fighting. Like, which ones do I actually think are going to make some progress and which ones aren't? But I feel like, weirdly, myself and my friends, when we've talked about this, like, there's like this underlying responsibility that you have to do this. And I appreciate that you're also like, you know what? Like, if you don't want to do that today.
Yeah, some things are not worth arguing about. But if you feel like, listen, this is one of my issues that I am not willing to set aside, I am willing to argue about, then a great question that, do you know who Nedra Tawwab is? She has a fantastic Instagram account, and she has a book called Set Boundaries, No Peace. And she's a therapist. K-N-O-W. Yes. She's a Black therapist. Okay. She's fantastic. I love her.
Cool.
Yes.
We can link her in the show notes.
One of the things that she suggests is asking somebody, what do you mean by that? Yes. What do you mean by that?
Favorite question.
And they're like, well, yeah,
tell me more about that. If you listen to this podcast, you've heard me say that. Tell me more about that.
And they'll be like, well, what do you mean? What do I mean by that? Because that sounded really racist. So I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding what you meant by that. I want to make sure I was understanding correctly, so that I was operating on the correct information. And even just forcing them to reflect and justify themselves, that in and of itself can be a great seed to plant. That can be a great tool to pry open a bigger conversation. If that's something that you, if you feel like, this is my issue, I am willing to talk about it. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. I think I've also realized that you can only have conversations where there will probably, there will inevitably be a disagreement with somebody who's willing to change their mind. So it's like, if you're going into something with curiosity and the other person's also curious, great. But if you're trying to, oh, I'm going to send you 6 links to different news articles to disprove the one that you just spouted out. And they're not willing.
That's
like,
right.
it won't matter.
Yeah, there's a lot of research actually that shows that the more you attack somebody's deeply held belief, and I'm not talking about racism, I'm just speaking like, let's say you believe a weird conspiracy theory or whatever. An inside job.
It's a hoax. It didn't
the
happen.
more you attack somebody's deeply held belief, the more deeply they believe it. That's terrible. I hate that about people. Because you want.
Is it because it's like to your point earlier of like, I know something you don't know, and weirdly, like, it makes me feel more powerful for this potentially smart person to not know that 9/11 was an inside job?
That's
is that
an aspect of it, but it is also another thing related to what I said before about like it being part of your identity. But if you think about, let's say somebody has a deeply held religious faith, and if I'm like, your religion is trash. Here's 6 articles about why your religion is trash. Here's terrible things your priests or your pastors did in the past, your wackadoo beliefs, you know what, and I'm not trashing anybody's religion, but let's say somebody wants to trash your religion. Are you going to read those articles and be like, well, I'm not a Jew anymore? Do you know what I mean? Like, no, you're not going to be like, I'm no longer a Christian. No, that actually is, what's it going to do? It's going to make you mad at the other person. It's not going to cause you to question your beliefs. It's going to make you dislike them. And so consequently, you then lose your ability to influence that person in the future. If you send them six articles about why their religion's terrible, you lose your ability to influence them in the future. So if the goal is to like, I would like to maintain this relationship so that someday down the road, when you might be interested or curious in abandoning this conspiratorial thinking, I will be here. I will be a resource for you. I might be able to influence you in the future. But just sending them a bunch of articles is just going to make them believe it more in many cases. It's terrible. I wish they could just read the article and abandon it.
Well, and it's just the psychological need for us as humans to be comfortable, right? And if someone is going to make us uncomfortable, even in a positive way, right? Potentially the outcomes, like,
that's right,
we will shut down and not do it. Like, we see that with money. Like, we know that from money, right? It's like so many people call it the ostrich effect in personal finance, right? They bury their head in the sand. It's just so much easier to like not look at your money. And even though it is temporarily uncomfortable, it ultimately betters your life to, you know, look at your money or to work out or to go to therapy or all the other things, right? Or to leave that toxic relationship that like is comfortable now, but you know deep down you're not supposed to be with that person.
I know people that don't, you know, like don't even open their mail because the bills are too uncomfortable, because they know that they maybe don't have the resources to pay them or whatever. And so the human brain's desire to avoid discomfort, like, don't underestimate your brain's desire to avoid discomfort. And so it requires a concerted effort on your part to wade into that discomfort with the long game in mind. And that is true of money and a variety of other things.
Right. Totally. Switching gears a little bit. Let's say that I, as an individual, am trying to figure out, how do I affect change, like on a personal level? What can I personally do on like a hot button issue? Abortion, critical race theory. Like, if it isn't the president that's in charge, right? Who is in charge of making these decisions that affect my life? And what can I do to make change beyond voting or like emailing my representative or calling my representative?
I hear that all the time. People are like, I emailed and nothing happened. You know what I mean? Like, I said,
I emailed this very busy person who got 60 million other emails. He didn't listen. I didn't hear back.
I get it. Like, just the advice of email and vote. Those are important things. Voting is actually extraordinarily important. Yes,
please don't not do that.
But it's frustrating when that's all you have. It seems like those are your only tools that you have. I will tell you that there is always power in numbers. The more people that are involved in something or advancing a cause, the more likely you are to get noticed. And so for many people, that looks like joining an organization that supports what it is they want to achieve. Racial equality, whatever that is, whatever it is for you. Joining an organization with infrastructure, with money, with contacts, with all of those things, the power and the numbers of that organization, and then perhaps that organization can provide you with information, tools, resources, etc., that you can then be like, I am going to this thing. I'm going to go to this hearing at my state capitol. I'm going to sign up to be on this board. I'm going to engage in this media opportunity, because of course the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So anytime you can bring media into it to draw attention to your issue, those organizations that align with your beliefs can often provide you with a lot more opportunities than you could just get by firing off an email or voting one time every 2 years. You know what I mean? So there are other things absolutely as well, but I think people overlook the importance of organizations in civic engagement, organizations that align with your beliefs and the causes that you care about advancing. I would also tell people this: we have a lot of things that we care about. Humans care about a lot of things, and we should. But it is okay to care more about one thing. Yes. And you can have more impact.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
more
it's
impact
powerful
on the one thing.
Yep.
You know, like, I'm sure you have many interests, Tori, but money is your thing. That's your thing.
Right.
That's where you have the greatest level of impact.
Right.
And you shouldn't allow yourself to step away from your highest impact because there are other things to care about. It is okay that this is your thing. Just like it's okay that my thing is government and current events, etc. It's okay that that's my thing. That's where my highest impact is. So maybe somebody's highest impact is homelessness, and you care so deeply about it. The things that you care so deeply about are given to you for a reason. We need people to care about different things. We cannot all care about only microplastics in the ocean, but nobody's over here caring about children who don't eat. Do you know what I mean? We all have to care about different things, and that's okay, necessary, and needed.
Right. Yeah. I think what I've tried to do, especially with the donations, is I focus on like two causes, and it's climate change or like, rainforest saving / women's issues. Like those are my big two. And I love the ASPCA. Like I need to take care of all the doggies and the kitties. Like that is so important to me, but also like,
that's right.
I can't spread myself
it's okay to do that. So that's right. You don't need to feel guilty. I have 3 dogs. I absolutely love animals. But I don't need to feel guilty that it's not actually my job to save all the dogs in the world. And that's right. And we, especially as women, I feel like tend to get stuck in this, like, I want to fix everything. I care about all these things. And then we get stuck in this, like, I can't fix it all, so I will fix nothing. I will spin my wheels because I feel overwhelmed.
What is it? Ron Swanson, don't half-ass one thing when you can don't half-ass 2 things when you can whole-ass one thing.
Your whole ass will have more impact. That's right. Then like 1/8 of your ass will. That's right.
Half a cheek,